What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, reviewing today's Spider-Man's DLC and trying to answer the question, is it really worth the price? The reason I'm actually making this video is because before launch, I was honestly very worried. They were doing some very extended trailers talking about the season pass and this downloadable content before the game was even out. Now, when I ended up reviewing Spider-Man, I completely fell in love with it. It was so fast and fun and had such great combat that even after I got done making my video, I ended up going on to 100% the game, beating every single mission and every single difficulty in getting every single collectible and really enjoying every single aspect of it. But still, in the back of my mind, I was a little bit terrified that this downloadable content would seem something that was just a little bit lackluster. Perhaps it would have that vibe that this was content removed from the final game just to put an extra price tag on it. But now that I've beaten it, it seems a little bit like that's the case. You see, this is the first of what will be a trilogy of DLC episodes. The first one came out today and is called The Heist. It follows Peter Parker going through the city at night, trying to track down the legendary thief Black Cat. Along the way, though, he's going to learn a lot about this town, see new villains, and also unlock some new costumes. Now, just right up front, I want to say that this is a very good DLC, but quite short. If you are trying to buy this on its own, it costs $10 and is only about 3 hours of stuff to do. And yes, I'm including side stuff. Literally, this thing, if you do every single side quest and get every single thing that's in this downloadable content, along with, of course, watching the cutscenes, start to finish, it's literally only 180 minutes long. Now, it's at least a very packed series of minutes. I never really felt myself wondering where I should go. It's a very guided style of downloadable content because you're constantly right on the tail of Black Cat. This is something that's probably my favorite part about it, is this really interesting duality between Spider-Man and Black Cat, whose name is Felicia. You really see them interacting both as people and as heroes, trying to be on opposite sides of the law and sometimes even trying to solve the same problem in different ways. Obviously, Spider-Man has a very strict rule of no killing. He will never do anything to permanently harm somebody, whereas Felicia, she doesn't have that rule. She will actually maim or murder somebody if she thinks that they're truly evil enough. So we see them both approaching a lot of different scenarios in separate ways, and I like that about it. It's definitely the most shining point of this downloadable content, but after that, I definitely found myself a little bit hungry at the end of it, because again and again, while playing through these couple missions and watching all this stuff unfold, I was very intrigued by the writing and seeing what they were trying to do to advance this character. Part of the reason you reflect so much on these characters is because this downloadable content takes place technically after the end of the game. Now, they don't quite come out and say that directly, but it certainly seems like it because at this point it seems like the city is practically saved. It just comes down to a matter of Peter Parker trying to round up the last of the Mafia people and of course in this scenario stop Black Cat. But something I do like about this especially is the fact that this is definitely made to be beaten after the end of the game because it is tough. One of my biggest problems with the main game, and even then it was a small problem, was the fact that Spider-Man, even on the hardest difficulty, was quite simple. I mean, with a couple good combos and just learning to time your dodges, you could take out even the last boss without ever being touched. And it was a little bit disappointing because I wanted at least some sort of shadow of challenge in it to try and push me to become the Spider-Man himself, to have to learn to react to different fights, and it was a little bit of a letdown that it was so easy. Well, the developer certainly tried to correct that because this downloadable content can be very rough. Just in general, they are trying to throw everything at you. Basically, every single room is filled with guys with rocket launchers and giant miniguns, and every single one of them seems to be aiming for a direct headshot. Now, since I've beaten everything in the game, obviously I had every single unlockable, every skill, every everything, and even I was occasionally finding myself sweating and trying to hide in the corner long enough to let my health recharge, because these dudes are certainly out for blood. That's kind of freaking awesome, because that's something this game absolutely needed. And couple that with the fact that they just included a bunch of a big free update that made it where there's now a new game plus and an extra hard difficulty, it's making it where this game is a better deal than ever. But occasionally during this, I certainly got the vibe that this was something that was unfortunately taken out of the main game. It seems like this is supposed to be like some sort of like after credits sort of content. New missions that we would be doing to have fun with after we managed to save the entire city of New York. I really hate to say that, but it does seem like for the $10 price tag, it's a bit too much. It's not to say at all that this stuff is bad or in any way negative, it's just that other downloadable content of similar prices usually provides more content in general, or at least adds something extra to change the main game. I mean, just look at something along the lines of stuff that they do in Fallout that ends up creating an all-new style of customization to make it where you can tinker with robots. It's something that makes it where for a small price tag, you're getting something major out of it, even if the story itself isn't super long. I like the fact that there's new collectibles in the form of this stolen art, and then we're using a sonar device to try and track down all these missing paintings and these really cool relics. And I also really enjoyed the new Screwball Missions, where you're basically trying to chase down this crazy live streamer who keeps trying to trick Spider-Man into doing these really dangerous puzzles where human lives are on the line. But simultaneously, I can't help but feel like this is stuff that very clearly was taken from the finished product. These were things that were going to be built into the original Spider-Man and were then taken out. It just fits so seamlessly into it, and there's nothing about this that feels drastically different. It very much feels like this is something that was already finished and now they're releasing it, and that is a little bit of a letdown. Perhaps when we get the entire trilogy of downloadable content, it'll make a little bit more sense in context, because basically, now that it's October, we're getting this first big DLC, next month we're getting another one, and in December it's going to finish off this storyline, and I really don't know where it's going to go from here. I can kind of assume that they're going to try and expand on the idea of the Mafia, and probably introduce a new evil aspect of the Sable people coming back, but still, I can't help but think that this is something that was probably intended during development to be part of the basic storyline. I guess when it really comes down to it, they're trying to set this up for a sequel. All this stuff is probably going to establish the larger universe and show us more context to the depth of this world. That way when Spider-Man 2 eventually, of course, comes out very shortly, we'll all have this nice little gap between Spider-Man 1 and its sequel. But I still don't know. I guess my real issue with this is that I wanted a little bit more. It's not the fact that it's overpriced. $10 is not a giant amount of money, but only having 3 hours of stuff to do does feel a little bit like a ripoff. Because, I mean, it's not really crazy. This isn't really something that's big and extravagant and awesome. It's just slightly more of what we already had so much of. But I guess maybe that's all it was supposed to be. Okay, so we've heard some good and some bad, but let's go over to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving the first episode of DLC, The Heist, an 8 out of 10. I'm going to actually make a very specific recommendation here. If you have not already completely 100%ed the game, I would not buy this. If you already own Spider-Man and you're enjoying it, you're having fun, you're swinging around, you're kicking bad guy butt, just keep doing that. If you manage to finish every single one of the entire cities, save every district, maybe go and do all the weird side quests like visiting Uncle Ben's grave, and you still want more, look into this. But still, I'd say that it's not quite worth it. Let's see how good the other 2 DLCs are. This is fun, this is fresh, this is slightly different, but at the end of the day, it's not much for that price tag. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do it with the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Man, I just wanted more side missions. I like the new costumes. I like what they're trying to do, but you know, it's just one of those things that it feels like I had an appetizer and I'm ready for the real meal to come. Oh, hi. I'm just working on the next video. If you want to see what it is, go ahead and click this button and you can subscribe. Also, if you click these video links, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. Now I'm just going to sit here for a minute and wait for you to subscribe. Oh, I guess I could put on these giant glasses. I literally found these on a roller coaster.